In the last video, we spoke about the issues surrounding the developers, not only their failure to communicate, but the issue of hacking. If you haven't seen that yet, feel free to click the card in the corner. Also, in the last video, a lot of people were pointing the finger and saying about a faction bias. So for the next few wars, I'm going to be playing as a warden to get a feel from the other side of things. But anyway, welcome to part 2, the rise and fall of Foxhole. A small series to document and make clear where the developers are making mistakes within the game to hopefully show them where improvements are needing to be made. Also, for this video I do apologise for the audio quality. I've just moved across the country and I haven't yet gotten around to getting my Yeti set up for the good audio quality that I usually have. Since Foxhole has been around since 2017, there has been a wide variety of game design changes which have been extremely successful in improving the game. Numerous changes to weapon play and changes towards weapons which make them virtually unrecognizable to how they were upon first release. But this doesn't mean they're very good at it. Weapon balancing is a large issue, which is why this video is dedicated to it, and it's caused numerous issues and controversy between factions, ranging from the Dusk being OP to the HV40 being too powerful. The claims and accusations of one side being too OP, whilst the developers make changes, has rocked the boat on multiple occasions. In the last video, I did briefly speak upon Update 48 and about how the changes have affected the Colonials during War 91. A few important examples can be pulled from the notes. During Update 48, they brought massive changes to the entire Colonial arsenal, leaving all of the Warden weapons either improved or the same as it was before. Meanwhile, as you can see, many weapons including the Ignifist, which was the core of the AT weaponry for the Colonials, the Dusk, which was the core of the late game anti-infantry weaponry, and the ISG, which was the only PvE and pre-Ignifist AT weapon, had all the tripod benefits stripped from. Now in the current war, obviously, as we can tell, the Colonials have put up a fierce resistance and are actually winning. But huge changes like this made War 91 a hot mess, with the Colonials being pushed back at a rapid rate as more and more of the Warden vehicle arsenal came into the field when they had limited AT weaponry to properly counter them. Not only is there very limited AT counters aside from tanks, but there is a huge variety of weaponry in the game that is rarely used on the Colonial faction. At this point in the game, it is balanced. The Wardens have their PvE and AT equipment, namely being the Cutler fulfilling both categories, and the Colonials have theirs, usually being the ISG and Ignifist. However, due to the changes in the mounted weapons not limited to removing the tripod cover buff to increasing the cost, has left tripod weapons in a bad place, at a point when it's the only real weapon the Colonials have. It's not just the ISG that this change affects though. Typhoons are the current counterpart to the Warden ATR, so there have been the changes to cost and tripod health, makes it pretty difficult to kill a tank with it on the front line. Before the addition of the Foe Breaker, the Wardens would often complain about not having an equivalent to the ISG. However, when the devs added the Foe Breaker, the Wardens continued to use the Cutler, purely because it's better, and this is a common issue with the addition of new side-specific weaponry. The Foe Breaker, whilst it is a good weapon, is far overshadowed by the combat efficiency and agility of utilizing the Cutler for many of the tasks that you would use the Foe Breaker for. At this point, the nerfs to the ISG have been understandably needed, with some time to assess the new weapon capabilities of the ISG, as well as work out some of the other changes of the weapons. A majority of the weapons do need to be reverted back to their original stats. However, both the ISG and the Ignifist are in a good place, both in terms of price and in terms of damage output. But the developers will likely swing it again and nerf it, and that worries me. The developers have a lack of finesse when it comes to changes. They don't seem to quietly tweak things in the background to fine-tune them. They are doing the equivalent of trying to kill a spider with a tank shell. It's excessive and also extremely frustrating. One war weapons are pretty passable, and the next war they could either be extremely powerful or next to useless. And yes, before it's mentioned, I'm aware the Colonials did win 10 wars in a row back to back because of a bad developer addition/balance. And I'm also aware the Wardens won like 6 wars in a row because of the same thing. At this point, the developers don't favour either faction. The balance issues within the game fall onto incompetence of balancing from the development side of things than it does on actually favouring either faction. As a user in my last part said, but the balance issues that the game experiences are from incompetence, not favourability for a specific faction. Each faction has gone through its history of being on, and players making personal attacks on the developers makes them less likely to hear the community. I do just want to clarify one thing. I'm not intentionally personally attacking the developers, nor do I believe the developers are terrible people. What I'm trying to do is develop a platform for them to get honest, no BS feedback to make the necessary changes to the game. And I'll be honest, the addition of the new 2 tanks wasn't wanted nor needed, yet they were provided. It's just a series of bad development issues that I'm attempting to point out. My criticism from the game comes from a place of care, because I genuinely do like Foxhole. Foxhole is a great game, and I did lead a great little clan, and we had tons of fun, but it's just getting frustrating with so many rapid changes without the community really being consulted first. The developer's vision is actually causing problems within the game. No one really understands their vision. As a user commented on my last video, what might be the reason to fail is the dev's vision instead of thinking about what's fun. With multiple time sinks and problems with server limits and queues, 24/7 time zones being able to PvE through zones from whatever games were made. And I see what they mean. It seems the developer's vision is to add so many vehicles and tanks and literally have an army on the field. And the problem is, it's not going to happen. The logistics players, for the most part, are on a stage of prioritizing certain weapons and vehicles to be time effective. And it's not going to change through the addition of more tanks. Balancing is going to be a problem for as long as the game is around. I can't think of a single game that has ever successfully pulled off asymmetrical balancing in any meaningful way. But I do believe the developers maybe need to reassess their balancing approach and work out whatever is the easiest path. I would honestly be happy with just reskins of weapons, exactly the same matching stats on equivalent guns. But that's just me. Thank you all for watching, and I shall see you all in the next video. See ya.